Let me, thank you. I'm going to introduce myself briefly. My name is Dr. Elizabeth Burns. I am currently the chair of the school library section in IFLA, and I'm joined by two fabulous presenters for this webinar. We have Maya Mahid, who is joining us from Malaysia. Maya is going to talk about her Project AI integration initiatives in the LEAD International School. Maya serves as the library director at LEAD International School. She is also the chair of the School Resource Center Committee under the Library Associations of Malaysia and a standing committee member of the school library section. She is going to be discussing a bit about AI, artificial intelligence initiatives in that LEAD International School. And then we have a second presenter today, Tanaya, who will be Azadi, who will be presenting on her project, Lessons from the Prodigy product. Tanaya joins us from, she's a senior postdoctoral researcher at the Media, Culture, and Policy Lab at Leuven, where she has played a key role in developing and strengthening the Creative Europe Program Research Project Prodigy. So we're going to hear all about that today. We're excited to offer this webinar on behalf of our sections and UNESCO. So before we begin, I just want to highlight the plan for our presentations today. We'll start with our brief welcome, which we're going through. Then we'll have Maya present and then Tanaya present, and then we will reserve the last 15 minutes or so for question and answer, facilitated discussion, and any reflections that you might have. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and invite Maya to open her microphone, but I do have a pre-recorded video of Maya's presentation that I'll play for us to kick off our event. Please let me know in the chat if you're having any trouble hearing or viewing the presentation once I begin.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Maya Abdul-Majid. I'm from LEAD International School, Malaysia. So today I will share with you about AI integration initiative at LEAD International School, Malaysia. It's truly a pleasure to be here with such a distinguished group of library and education professionals. Today we are gathered not only to discuss about artificial intelligence, but to reflect our evolving roles as educators, librarians, and mentors in shaping how this technology influences the next generation of learners. Allow me to introduce myself before I proceed with my session. All right. So I'm the library director and a library consultant at LEAD International School under LSL Education Group in Malaysia. So I'm the chair of the School Resource Center Committee of the Libraries Association of Malaysia, a standing committee member of the IFLA School Library Session, and a joint committee member of the IFLA. I'm a PhD holder in Information Management from Mara University of Technology, UITM, and specializing in school library management. Artificial intelligence is now woven into a very fabric of our teaching and learning processes. It has reshaped the way educators plan their lessons, how students conduct their research, and how assignments are created and completed. So that's why I want to share with you today that we have two frameworks that we're using in our school, one for students and one for the teachers. Okay, so for the framework for students, we are using PATS framework, and for the teachers, we are using ILMU. All right. So from chatbots that assist with writing to platform, that generate lesson ideas. AI has become both a tool of convenience and a catalyst of creativity. However, without clear guidance, there lies a genuine risk, a risk that students might become over-reliant on AI, comprising their own creativity, accuracy, and even of their sense of academic integrity. Recognizing this, Elite International School in Malaysia has taken a proactive stance. We aim not more to use AI, but to use it wisely and ethically. Recent studies affirm that this dual-edged nature of AI in education. For instance, Ozan and Phelan, Famous and Kamis observe that while generative AI support learning and productivity, it also raises serious concerns such as academic misconduct and the erosion of critical thinking skills and the diminished originality. Similarly, research in K-12 studies shows that the teacher readiness and structure framework are key to ensuring that AI serve as a meaningful, responsible learning partner rather than a shortcut. So, today I will share how Lead International School has designed and implemented structured guidance framework, one for students and one for teachers, to ensure that AI become a scaffold of learning, not a substitute for it. Okay, so at Lead International School, the students at this international school, we wanted to ensure that students engage critically with AI. So to achieve this, we introduced to them a simple yet powerful framework called PAS, an acronym for persona, aims, recipient, team, and structure. So as you can see, there's a photo of myself. So I'm conducting an information literacy session in my school. Okay. So persona is defined who the AI should be. For example, you are a science teacher explaining about photosynthesis to your student, for example. So aim, you have to clarify the purpose of the program, which is it for learning or to summarization or create a PowerPoint, something like that, right? The third point is recipients. So the student have to identify the intended audience, which is the information is for their peers or for the young students or for the parents. The fourth one is team. So the student have to specify and describe the style and tone and or any related parameter that they want. Okay, the AI generate the information for them. The last one is structure. So the student have to indicate the desired format. For example, maybe the information should be written in one paragraph or a long essay or a poster or in terms of a PowerPoint form, all right? So the original idea for this form from Google Gen AI for Educators, but the poster designed by one of my friends, which is Mr. Zakir Hussain. Right, for the teachers, okay, is Elmo, right? So we use model called Elmo, which is stand for initialist, level, method, and understand. The word Elmo means knowledge in Malay. So it reflects our belief that technology should always serve human wisdom. So look at the first one, which is I, initialist. The teacher, okay, should identify lesson plan for Year 11 chemistry on the topic, okay, what kind of topic according to the Cambridge syllabus or in Malaysia, most of our government school, we are follow Malaysia syllabus, right? And L is stand for lantik or level, okay. It means that the teacher have to clearly state the AI path or desired outcome, meaning that what AI can generate the responses from different perspectives and knowledge flow. For example, you are the excellent teacher focusing on student-centered learning activities, right? Next, move on to the M, which is method. So the teacher has to decide how to integrate AI into lesson design. For example, I will do the necessary research, or I will condense my findings and then create a draft for you to evaluate, right? And last one is understand. So the teacher has to, at this stage, teacher can evaluate and interpret AI output for the accuracy and ethics, okay? So for example, teacher said, I want the lesson plan to be for 1 hour class or 20-minute lecture or 30 minutes to the activity or and 10-minute exercise for the questions. So by following Elmo, the teacher use AI purposefully rather than passively, combining innovation with discernment. So this model empowers teachers to design engaging lessons and save time while maintaining educational integrity. So as we come to the close for today's session, I would like to express my heartfelt appreciation to all of you, fellow library professionals, education and innovators, for joining me in exploring how AI can be meaningfully integrated into our educational and library environments. So we have seen that AI is not a replacement for human intelligence, but AI is the partner that amplifies our capacity to teach, guide, and inspire. AI challenges us to rethink our practices, but it also gives us an opportunity to lead. So a library now not just a space of information, but a center of intelligent learning. So our role has evolved, yet our mission remains the same, which is to empower learners to think critically, act ethically, and explore courageously. So let us model responsible AI use, uphold information ethics, and advocate for equitable access to knowledge. Together, we can shape libraries into center of intelligent learning, where curiosity meets creativity and technology serve humanity. Thank you once again for your presence, your insights, and your commitment to advancing our profession in this AI-driven era. Let us continue to learn, lead, and inspire, because the future of knowledge truly begins with this. So this is the reference that I'm using for my presentation. All right. So if you have any question or comments, you can email to me with my personal email and also my library email. And you can touch with me on my LinkedIn profile. So just scan the QR code and let's keep in touch. Thank you so much.
Thank you to Maya for sharing this practices in Malaysia, and we will hold questions until the end. We have one additional recorded presentation.
Welcome everyone to my presentation on some of the results of our Prodigy project. The title of my presentation is Building AI Literacy for Vulnerable Groups, Lessons from the Prodigy project. Here is a brief introduction about me. I'm a senior postdoc researcher at KU Leuven, where I co-lead the Creative Europe Program Research Project Prodigy and Media Culture and Policy Lab of KU Leuven. I'm a member of the KU Leuven Digital Society Institute and Association for Information Science and Technology. I'm also contributing to several major international research consortia, such as DeMine and Remedies, among others. Let's have a quick overview of the Prodigy project. Prodigy is an acronym for Promoting Resilience of Online Digital and Informational Skills. This project is funded by the European Union under the Creative Europe Call, and we are a consortium of 3 universities from 3 different countries, including KU Leuven in Belgium, Nova University Lisbon in Portugal, and Jagiellonian University in Kraków, Poland. The project is 2 years, and prodigyproject.eu is our website. But what does Prodigy do? Well, we all live in an online environment saturated with misinformation and disinformation. And in fact, information disorder is one of the most pressing challenges of our time. This situation has been even exacerbated by the rise and rapid adoption of different AI technologies such as deepfakes, which make it even harder for citizens to distinguish fabricated content from truth. So these developments have an impact, serious impact on individual and societal level. I'm not gonna go into detail on these impacts, but one strategy to address these challenges is improving people's media literacy, AI literacy, information literacy, and critical thinking skills. And this topic has actually gained a lot of attention from scholars, experts, and policymakers. And we have a growing body of literature in this field. However, one thing which is lacking in this literature is attention to vulnerable groups. And in Prodigy, we aim to address this critical gap. What are the objectives and aims of Prodigy? We follow 4 objectives. First of all, we want to assess the AI literacy and digital skills of our population in Belgium, Portugal, and Poland. And we do this through using performance tests in 3 different countries. In Belgium, they'll focus on a sample of unaccompanied minors and also their guardians. In Portugal, we focus on children and youth from socioeconomically disadvantaged families, and it will also include their teachers and trainees. And finally, in Poland, we will focus on elderly population living in rural areas and who receive assistance from pre-teachers in lifelong learning centers. The second objective is to implement effective interventions. So through scoping reviews, we not only assess the most effective interventions in literature, but also we evaluate and we assess some existing frameworks to assess media literacy and AI literacy of population. But as I said, the main gaps of literature in terms of both assessment tools like AI literacy scales as well as interventions is that they mainly focus on general population and they have not been tested across vulnerable population, and that is something that we want to follow in Prodigy project. The third aim would be to develop a resilience toolkit, which is specifically for practitioners and include pre-test and post-test, and it enables measurement of intervention programs. So it's a collection of guidelines, conceptual frameworks, checklists, and questionnaires, which help practitioners to not only assess AI literacy skills of their relevant target group, but also to be able to evaluate the effectiveness of their intervention. The first aim of the project would be to disseminate our results and communicate our results to policymakers, to our stakeholders. We do this through cooperation and collaboration with EDMO Regional Hubs, MLA, Media Learning and Media Learning Association, and also the European Research Group, which will facilitate our engagement with the mainstream information media. We want to transform our research findings into recommendations for both practitioners as well as policymakers. And we do this through the collaboration that we have continue to have with EDMO Regional Hubs, MLA, and Euromedia Research Group. Because we want to respond to the growing interest of policymakers in improving people's critical thinking to be able to combat misinformation and disinformation, also to combat or to address the adverse impact of digital communication technologies. Prodigy has 5 work packages, 3 work packages, 1, 2, and 3 are content related, and work package 4 and 5 are more into project management. Work package 1 is actually two-folded. So we not only aim at review existing effective intervention to combat misinformation and disinformation in AI-driven environments, but also we want to improve existing assessment tools, especially in the domain of AI literacy, with a focus on vulnerable groups. And the second work package 2, is focusing on delivering the intervention program, and basically it's based on the results that we get through work package 1. And in work package 3, we will create a resilience toolkit, which will include all our results, data, and analysis coming from work package 1 and 2 that's tailored for the practitioners, and they can use it when they are teaching or evaluating AI literacy interventions, or they are doing AI literacy assessments. In work package 4, we collaborate with different organizations to disseminate our results to different stakeholders such as policymakers and practitioners. Especially we will build a partnership with Edinburgh regional hubs. And work package 5 is the project management. So who are Prodigy primary stakeholders? The main target groups of Prodigy are unaccompanied and refugee youth in Belgium, disadvantaged youth in Portugal, and senior people in Poland. We also aim to build or to include actually parents and caregivers of this main target groups, because they also need support in guiding their children on how to interact with different digital technologies, different AI technologies. And that's why their input is also needed when we are designing the intervention or when we are developing and scale, which would enable us to assess the AI literacy skills of our Prodigy target groups. Practitioners, first-line practitioners, trainers, social youth workers are also our Prodigy target groups, because they need tools and training and support in terms of material and teaching methods and guidelines to be able to also deliver workshops for their audience and to improve this skills and critical skills dimensions. And finally, we want to provide evidence for policymakers who need to develop policies and are interested in the results of research on AI literacy, media literacy, and if they want to know which interventions are effective, what should be done, what are the gaps, and that's also one of our main Prodigy stakeholders. What methodology do we follow in Prodigy? Well, we apply a combination of qualitative and quantitative methods. So it's a mixed method approach, basically. We do two scoping reviews to identify the most effective intervention programs on digital environments, AI-driven environments, aiming at improving the skills to combat misinformation and disinformation. We're also doing another scoping review on the existing AI literacy scales and frameworks to evaluate what we have right now and what are their gaps and what we can do for AI literacy assessment of our Prodigy target groups. We apply different quantitative and qualitative methods, our design, implementation, and validation of pre and post intervention assessments, measure perceived, but also the actual AI literacy skills of our target group, and we apply it to unaccompanied minors, disadvantaged youth, and senior people. We also apply qualitative methods through participatory action research and co-design, and the direct connection that we have with our stakeholders, and they are included not only in the scale development, but also in the intervention, and we do it through focus groups, interviews, and different panels. Now let's have a look at one of the activities that we're doing as part of our work package 1, and that's developing an AI literacy scale for Prodigy vulnerable groups. But first of all, maybe we need to answer this question of what is the need to actually develop another AI literacy scale, because we already have a couple of AI literacy scale in literature. I think this question could be answered from two perspectives. First of all, we can look into it in terms of the impact that AI has on every domain of our life, like in health and society, environmental impact, educational impact, economical impact. And I mean, the topic is so important that we still need more research to understand different nuances of this problem or of this phenomenon. But the second, maybe more specific need is towards the gaps that we have in existing frameworks and scales. And well, there are a couple of gaps. For instance, the majority are rarely tested across the vulnerable populations, and they are mainly tested on dominant populations. For example, general public, university students, for example, medical students, or in technical fields. And really less has been focused to test these frameworks or assessment tools across vulnerable population and underrepresented groups. Another gap is that most frameworks are derived from literature reviews and validated quantitatively, sometimes complemented by expert opinion, but they often fail to address the specific needs of their target population. And that is something that we can get through participatory action research and co-design elements that involves engagement of stakeholders in development process, but not only in development process, but also in validation process. Another gap is that many of these frameworks focus really on assessing the usage, assessing the attitudes, or assessing the confidence that people have while they're interacting with AI, rather assessing the actual skills. That is what people actually are able to do, can do. So because of all these gaps that we identified in literature, we aim to develop an AI literacy scale which could be tested across our prodigy vulnerable population. How do we define AI literacy in our AI literacy scale? We define it as a set of competencies that enable people to communicate, work, and live effectively with both one another and also the intelligent machines. This set of competencies help people to engage, create, and manage, while they also are able to evaluate the AI benefits, its risks, and also the ethical implications. AI literacy is clearly related to other well-established literacies, most notably digital literacy, and sometimes could be viewed as an extension of digital literacy. So the conceptualization that we have for developing our AI literacy scale actually is based on a framework which has been developed to assess the digital skills, youth digital skills indicator, or YDSI, which is a framework and is part of a device skills project. In this indicator, we have 4 dimensions to be tested, and in few slides, a few later slides, I'm gonna explain these 4 dimensions. This scale has been validated and is an empirically grounded good model for structuring the competencies that also make up AI literacy. In addition to the conceptualization, our conceptualization based on the YDSI, we also conducted a review of literature to identify items which could be addressed, the topic of assessing AI skills. So after a review of literature and several rounds of fine-tuning and discussion with our colleagues within the Prodigy project, we came across 48 items divided in 2 sections to assess skill and also assess knowledge, critical knowledge on 4 dimensions of the YDSI. During this review of literature, we also identified this need for coming up with a 5th dimension, which we called it ethical and responsible AI use, and it also includes 12 items, 6 items assess AI-related skills, and 6 items assess critical knowledge in terms of AI. This 5th dimension is not originally part of the YDSI, but in YDSI, the ethical dimension has been spread through the whole 4 dimensions and not as a separate dimension. But because of the importance of the topic, and also because some items could not be grouped in other 4 dimensions, we really find it necessary to have a 1st dimension for ethical and responsible use of AI. In addition to this literature review, we applied inputs from 15 interviews with adolescents, including 4 teenagers with lower socioeconomic status. And this study was conducted in particular to identify how young people actually use AI, and that was part of the EU Kids Online project. So these are the 4 dimensions of the YDSI and also our Prodigy AI literacy scale: technical and operational, information navigation and processing, communication and interaction, content creation and production. We also added a 5th dimension of ethical and responsible use, and our items spread through these 2 domains: skills items as well as knowledge items. And in both domains, skill and critical knowledge, we have this set of 5 dimensions. Here you can see the items that we developed for the skill domain and knowledge item and knowledge domain, pair of each of the 5 dimensions: technical and operational, information navigation, communication, content creation, as well as ethical and responsible use. These items are under development. Let's have a look at the validation process that we are doing in Prodigy to develop to validate our scale. Well, validation is an essential part of the Prodigy. Now we are working with our experts to receive their feedback. Our experts are Prodigy Advisory Board, which who are media information and AI literacy scientists and academicians, as well as 3 international independent scholars in the field to evaluate our scale and provide us with the feedback. We are also working with social organizations, working with seniors and youth, for instance, with Link organization in Flanders to receive their feedback too, to combine a deductive and inductive approach in our scale development. Cognitive interviews are an essential part of our validity test. We are working with our participants and different organizations like Fedicil in Belgium, pair the 3 target group countries of Prodigy to interview with our target population to see if they have any problem understanding any of these items, what they think the question means, and what they are referring to when they are given the answer that they give. It means that we want them to provide more examples of how they interpret the question or the item. So we do it to see if an item is understood the way that we want it to be understood. At the moment, there are at least 10 children and 10 seniors. We are also running our scale pilot survey with 1,000 students in the 5th and 6th year of their secondary school in the Flanders in Belgium. And soon we will be receiving the results on factor loading and exploratory factor analysis, among other statistical tests, to see how well our scale is structured and how well questions measure what you're actually supposed to measure. Soon we will publish our results, and we continue to disseminate our findings through various channels, among which are Prodigy website and Prodigy page on Zenodo. In December, we have a meeting with MLA, Media Learning Association, and we will further discuss our results there and seek ways to disseminate and communicate with different stakeholders. Some lessons, key lessons from Prodigy to take away. Well, our research understands several gaps and opportunities in advancing AI and media information literacy, particularly for vulnerable population. First of all, there is a lack of intervention-oriented research across vulnerable groups. Most studies at the moment measure, for instance, AI literacy competencies without delivering targeted educational interventions, especially for vulnerable groups. In Prodigy, we really want to address this gap by developing an evidence-based AI literacy scale, which is designed to inform and guide future training initiatives. We also develop and implement relevant interventions, which we think would be helpful to improve the AI literacy skills of our participants. And we will have pre-tests and post-tests to see if our intervention was effective in terms of improving the AI literacy skills of our participants, both the scale development and validation, as well as the intervention development. And effectiveness will be based on participatory action research and will be based on co-design elements where we invite our direct stakeholders like the children and senior people themselves, but also their caregivers to provide us with feedback on the development and validation process. There is also lack of engagement with the stakeholders. And as I said, most existing frameworks have been developed without getting input from direct and indirect stakeholders like the children or the caregivers. And Prodigy participatory design incorporates different stakeholders to enhance its relevance and inclusivity. We need to build the bridge between theory and practice. There's like a disconnection between academic AI literacy frameworks and classroom implementation, and educators often lack the training resources, support resources, or even confidence to apply these frameworks into teaching. Prodigy confront this challenge by involving teachers and trainers directly into the co-design. And we also plan to have a resilience toolkit, which is for the practitioners and for the teachers. And it provides teacher-friendly guidelines, curriculum and integration strategies, and professional development support. So in this way, we help educators to bring AI literacy to their real-world classrooms. We also need to build assessment frameworks with more focus on critical engagement. Often AI literacy efforts prioritize awareness and technical usage over critical reflection, like on algorithmic bias, data ethics, social impact, environmental impact, accountability, transparency, and Prodigy advances beyond awareness by incorporating that fifth dimension into its scale, and that's the responsible and ethical use of AI. And finally, we need rigorous scale development and validation process. A key lesson is the importance of a meticulous validation process to ensure the scale, reliability, and validity, especially through participatory methods hold. Prodigy methodology includes expert feedback from an international advisory board of AI literacy scholars, cognitive interviews with children and seniors to check the question clarity. And also, as I said, we are running a large-scale pilot survey with 1,000 secondary students. These steps hold this promise that the scale would accurately measure AI literacy scale, would accurately measures AI literacy across Prodigy diverse target groups, ensure that the item is well understood and well intended. Thank you so much for your attention, and I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts and comments.
So with that, I invite everyone to ask a question of our presenters, perhaps share some of your reflective thoughts on the projects that were presented today. You're welcome to add your questions and comments to the chat. And if you'd like to speak, please just raise your hand and I will then ask you to unmute so that we are not speaking over one another. Would anybody like to begin with a question or a comment? Mega?
Hi, Elizabeth, and thank you so much to the two presenters that presented today. My name is Mega Subramaniam, and I'm a professor at the College of Information at the University of Maryland in College Park, Maryland, in the United States. So I actually have two questions for the second presenter. It was a very really well thought and well designed research. Very impressed with the work that is going on with the group that is doing this work. Really impressive. So first, I want to just give kudos to that. Second, I have two questions actually. One is that the presenter had shared there's an AI literacy assessment instrument that you had referred to, I think earlier in your presentation. I was wondering if it is public available.
I apologize. If you could make sure that your microphones are muted, that way we don't have background noise.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So I'll repeat that question again. I think that's where I got muted. Is the AI literacy assessment that was referred earlier in the presentation, is that instrument publicly available at this moment? So that's my first question. And then my second question is, I'm really impressed with the extent of that you all are thinking about AI literacy and also thinking about the interventions that are going to happen. But I'm also curious how you are building into your interventions and also the framework, everything that you're developing. How are you accounting to how AI is so rapidly changing even as we speak? So if you can speak about if you can answer those two questions, I would really greatly appreciate it. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Mega, for your questions. As to your first question, yes, our AI literacy scale would be later on available for wide and wider spread usage. But as I said in my presentation, at the moment we are still taking some validation as well as item development and item fine-tuning process. But we need to complete our pilot survey and other validation tasks more or less by the end of December. So we are hopeful that by then we would be able to come up with some results and the first version of the validated scale. And as I said, a Prodigy project has a page on Zenodo where all our reports, technical reports, would be there available, open access, so it's free to use, and you can follow there as well as our Prodigy website for future publications and reports. And as to your second question, well, yes, that's true. In general, digital technologies, including AI technologies, are moving targets. And as we are working on our scale development and intervention implementation and evaluation, there might be this chance that other new technologies have come up and they bring with themselves new challenges. And that's why our scale needs to be somehow general enough to be able to capture also the future advancement of technology. It's actually one of the, I guess, strength of our scale, which is not necessarily limited to generative AI like ChatGPT or Copilot, but we are trying to formulate our items in a way that can capture the user's ability to apply and engage with different aspects of AI technologies in general, and not just, for instance, ChatGPT. As I said, our conceptualization comes from a prior study that we also did here in K Leuven. Of course, K Leuven was one of the partners, and that was part of a bigger project called Youth Skills or Y Skills. And in that project, colleagues proposed a conceptual framework for assessing digital skills in 4 dimensions, which were in my slides. If you go to that report and the citation that I made available, you can really assess that the items are formulated in a way which are somehow inclusive, and they can capture technology, technology usage through all those 4 dimensions. But as I said, yeah, digital technologies, digital skills are moving targets, and skills should develop in a way that could be updated, at least with minimum effort to be able to also capture the future needs too. And just a small comment, I noticed my recording was playing back a bit faster. Because it exceeded the time duration that I needed to record my video, but I hope it was still understandable for the audience. But
Thank you so much. And yes, it was perfectly, listenable throughout. So the speed did not impact the message. Thank you for that. Other questions from our participants for either one of our presenters? Maya is also here with us, and I'm sure would welcome a question. No further questions? Maya, I have a question for you. I appreciate you sharing some of your practices. I wonder how widely implemented would these types of interventions and strategies be in Malaysia as a whole? I know that you're at a specialized school, so are these generalizable to practices within Malaysia as a whole, or is this something that is really just a prototype that you're trying out?
Okay, hi, thank you, Elizabeth, for your questions. So, at the moment, I just doing it in my school because based on the requests from the teachers. And as you know, that our school are very supportive about the information literacy. So and then I found that the two frameworks is really useful for our teachers and students. So that's why I'm sharing this so that another colleagues who want to try these two frameworks, you can contact me and we can working together. Yep.
Thank you. And tonight, I also have a question I'd like to follow up with you. One of your stakeholder groups was outside policymakers. At what point and in what format do you intend to be able to share your results so that perhaps it could generate policy?
Yeah, we have different direct and indirect stakeholders, and their collaboration and their cooperation are foreseen through multiple stages of the project. So we seek their input not only in our scale development process, like by focus groups, cognitive interviews with the children themselves, but also with the, for instance, social youth workers or their caregivers, and also at the evaluation of our scale. That's one category of our stakeholders, and then another category of our stakeholders are the organizations that we are working with, and we are collaborating with them mainly for distributing and disseminating our results. For instance, MLA, Admiral Regional Hubs. And as I mentioned in my presentation, for instance, with MLA, the Media Learning Association, we would have a meeting on early December. Then we are going to present our initial results from the scale development, and then they have contact with practitioners, first-line practitioners, so they are more into the field, and they can provide us with valuable feedback on on the items, the development, also the validation, and we will have workshops, different workshops as well to see how we can further disseminate our results for the practitioners too. For instance, the work package 3 of the Prodigy is developing a toolkit which is specifically designed for the practitioners, and that provide a collection of, let's say, conceptual frameworks, guidelines, checklists, the scale itself, how to apply the scale, educational material coming from our interventions, because we also develop and implement interventions for our specific target groups. So we can later on assess through our scale if the intervention was effective or not. So all of this, the user of this toolkit would be practitioners. So through this collaboration that we have with MLA, we can already, and they can get in touch with the first-line practitioners, and also they can invite them in our meetings too. We can have some feedback before developing our toolkit. Later on, the toolkit, after, I guess, the second year of the project, would also be available free for use on the internet. And I think the promotion of the results would still be one challenging point for every research, and that's one of the main important activities, in fact, for every research, because at the end we want to make sure that this content would be available for use and is user-friendly enough and context-based enough so it can be applied in practice. And for that reason, this direct contact with yeah, our stakeholders, our dissemination organizations are really vital.
Thank you. And Nicholas, I saw that your hand was up previously, but it's no longer up. Did you still have a comment or a question? Okay, perhaps. Oh, there's a comment in the chat. I hope that you all are also reviewing the chat. But there is a question: how can librarians in low resource context start adopting AI and MIL initiatives with limited infrastructure? Would you like to address that, Maya?
Oh yes, okay. I'm scrolling down the chat box. Later I will write the answer in the chat box.
So I wonder if either of you have thoughts on how low resource institutions might start adopting the AI initiatives.
Because just based on my experience, when we start doing any framework, we did not use any resources. Okay, so you just need collaboration actually. So you just need a collaboration. For example, in my school, we have a very close collaboration with all the subjects. So they just asked me, okay, can you guide my student how to use AI to search for the information, all right? So how AI can guide my students. So um we just had a session in my library. I need to conduct the session with the students. That's all. We did not have um any cost involved at the moment.
Thank you. And Tanai, did you also want to respond to that, or are you?
Yeah, I think collaboration actually, I couldn't agree more, is one of the main aspects of all the work that we do. At the moment, there are a couple of initiatives out there, available out there, funded by different organizations, such as, for instance, COSTE. They also provide reliable educational content on media and information literacy. Also, UNESCO has other several related initiatives on media information literacy as well as AI literacy. They provide content which is usable for multiple stakeholders, including libraries. And also through Prodigy 2, this toolkit that we are aiming to produce contains also educational material and assessment tools. So that's also coming from research, and they are reliable sources which libraries or any knowledge center with limited resources can rely on and can use it. And I think the main goal for we as researchers, as I said, is to be able to spread the word as much as we can. So stakeholders would know that there are some reliable material out there, and they can use it themselves. Yeah. There's also like another discussion on how to foster this collaboration and like on the criteria that such content should have. For instance, this toolkit should be really user friendly. They should be avoiding using technical, really and complicated conceptualization and content, and that should be ready to use. So these are something that we as researchers need to take into account for the final content to be really usable and user-friendly. But that's also another discussion. But I think it adds to the value of this content, and it makes this content to be more used. And so that's also important.
Great, thank you. Well, I do show us right at time. The hour went by very quickly. So I certainly thank everyone for attending today. A special thank you to both of our presenters for sharing their practices with us. I also want to remind you that we will be sending a certificate to those that have participated today. So we're looking forward to following up with you in that way. And I am so excited to see that you all are sharing your social media links so that others can continue to stay connected with the good work that you're doing. I wish you all the best for the rest of your day, whether it be a long day still or if you're just wrapping up. And thank you for spending a little bit of time with us talking about information literacy, media literacy, and AI as we wrap up this UNESCO Mill Week for this 2025 year. Thank you.
Thank you.